Welcome to today's Explainer. If you've got a startup idea burning a hole in your brain, but you're feeling totally paralyzed by the overwhelming amount of advice out there, you are absolutely in the right place. Today, we're going to cut right through the noise and break down the exact structured path to take your startup from a raw concept into a launched reality. Here's our roadmap for today. We'll start with the reality of startups, move into finding the right problem, dig deep into the validation process, and wrap up with your actionable steps to launch. Let's get right into it. Section 1. The reality of startups and the stakes of the game. To really grasp the playing field you're stepping onto, just wrap your head around this number, 5 million. In the US alone, upward of 5 million business applications are submitted every single year. That's a number that has been climbing steadily since 2012. The barrier to entry might be low, but the sheer volume of people trying to build something new is staggering. You aren't just competing with established giants, you're competing with millions of other incredibly ambitious founders. Now, throw in roughly 35 million existing small businesses, which, by the way, employ almost half of the private workforce in the US. You can instantly see how fiercely competitive this environment is right out of the gate. You're entering a highly saturated, hyperactive ecosystem. You have to stand out. And honestly, you cannot do that by just winging it. And that brings us to a pretty harsh reality stemming from all that competition. A massive chunk of these new ventures, they fail within their first 5 years. Why? Well, the data shows it's simply because founders skip the absolute basics. They get totally hyped up, they rush, and they bypass essential steps like market research, team building, and financial planning. They blindly build a product before they even know if there's an actual market for it. Which leads us to Section 2, finding the right problem and making that crucial mindset shift. Okay, we need to bust a massive myth right here. You do not need a completely original idea. Seriously, so many founders get paralyzed thinking they have to invent the next wheel. But originality matters far less than relevance. Opportunity actually lives in creating a relevant, refined solution that just eliminates friction in something that already exists. Improving a current product in a way that genuinely benefits consumers is, more often than not, a way more viable foundation for a successful business. So before you take any procedural actions, before you spend a single dime, you absolutely must complete 3 foundational prerequisites in this exact order. First, identify a genuine problem, a specific gap in the market that a specific group of people actually experiences. Second, do an honest self-assessment. Ask yourself, are you truly equipped to solve this? And finally, gather your foundational resources. Educate yourself on marketing, leadership, and entrepreneurship. If you don't have these 3 pillars, the whole foundation is eventually going to crumble. Moving on to Section 3, the validation process. Think of this as the engine of your startup. Idea validation is your ultimate filter. It's the process of testing whether a concept actually solves a real problem before you commit significant time and resources to it. Skipping this, it means risking months of wasted effort and precious capital building a product that literally nobody wants. It is, quite simply, the single costliest mistake early-stage founders make. So, here is a hard and fast rule for you. You must have direct conversations with at least 10 potential customers before you write a single line of code or spend a single dollar. And I mean real potential customers, not your friends, not your mom. You need to know if the problem you've identified is actually a pain point they are willing to pay hard-earned money to have solved. To really stress test your concept, run it through this exact sequence. Systematically define your core problem and map out your target audience's unmet needs. Research your competitors to see exactly where they're falling short. Use validation tools to test your assumptions early. And crucially, draft a structured plan while connecting with experienced mentors who can help you dodge those wildly expensive early errors. This whole philosophy is summed up beautifully by the famous startup accelerator Y Combinator. Launch fast, gather real feedback, treating early failure as essential data rather than defeat. You have to get your product, or even just a super basic prototype of it, out into the real world. Stop trying to make it perfect behind closed doors. Use any early stumbles purely as data to iterate relentlessly. Every no or this doesn't work is just a roadmap telling you exactly what to fix next. All right, final section. Section 4, steps to launch. Let's look at the playbook. Let's turn all this theory into action. Launching isn't a leap of faith. It's a highly structured sequence. First, validate the idea. Second, research the market. Third, draft a lean business plan. Fourth, build your network. And fifth, pursue structured education and investor readiness programs. Stick to this sequence, and you drastically reduce your early risk. I really want to highlight step 3, building a lean business plan. Notice the word lean. We aren't talking about some 50-page document that nobody's ever going to read. You just need a concise document that clearly maps out exactly how you'll make money, your revenue model, what it'll cost you to operate, and your specific growth milestones. It keeps you focused and, most importantly, accountable. And for step 4, building your network, you don't have to go it alone. By tapping into existing platforms, like Success Valley, for instance, you can instantly connect with a global ecosystem of over 5,000 entrepreneurs, mentors, and collaborators. Surrounding yourself with a community like that helps you share resources, gain insider insights, and entirely avoid the traps that routinely sink isolated founders. As we wrap up today's explainer, I want to leave you with one final kind of existential question to chew on before you begin your journey. Out of everyone in the world, why are you the right person to solve this specific problem? Not someone else, but you. Answer that with absolute conviction, back it up with structured validation, and you, my friend, are ready to launch.